ዋናው ዜና ዋና ጸሐፊ ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ኣንቶንዮ ጉተረስ ትማሊ 6 ጥቅምቲ ኣኼባ ባይቶ ጸጥታ ብዝተኻየደሉ እዋን በኣምባሳደር ኢትዮጵያ ብሕብራት ሃገራት አንጻርቶም ካብ ኢትዮጵያ ዝተሰጎጉ ላዕሎ ሰራሕተኛታት ረድኤት ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ክስታት ድሕሪ ምቕራቡ መንግስቲ ኢትዮጵያ ስኑት ጭብጥታት ከቕርበሉ ብንብኡ ብምትሕስሳብ ተሪር ግብረ መልሲ ሂቡ ንሱ ኣብ ኣኼባ ባይቶ ጸጥታ ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ሳሕቲ ብዝረአ መንገዲ ብግህዶ ኣብ ቅድሚ ኣኼበኛታት ኣብ ዝሃቦ ግብረ መልሲ ክብረት ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ናይ ምክልኻል ግዴታ ኣለኒ ድሕሪ ምባል ንቀዳማይ ሚኒስተር ኢትዮጵያ ክልተ ግዜ ጭብጥታት ከቕርብ ሓቲቱ ክሳብ ሕጂ ዝኾነ ምላሽ ከም ዘይረኸበ ኣገንዚቡ ህዝቢ ኢትዮጵያ ይሳቀሎ ብዘይካ ንህዝቢ ምሕጋዝ ድማ ካልእ ረብሓ ይብልናን ውን ኢሉ
That I would like to ask you one thing, Mr. Ambassador. If there is any written document provided by the Ethiopian government to any UN institution about any of the 8 members of the UN that were expelled, I would like to receive a copy of that document because I have not had any knowledge of any of them, and it would be very useful for me to detect if documents are given to the UN and not given to my knowledge. Then I have to investigate what has happened in my organization. So I ask you please, Mr. Ambassador, to provide me as a copy of any of the written documents written by the government of Ethiopia about any of the 8 that were expelled by Ethiopia in this regard. And I would recall that twice I told the Prime Minister that if there were concerns about lack of, I'd say, lack of impartiality of the UN staff, that I asked him, please send me those situations for me to be able to investigate. Twice I asked it to the Prime Minister. Until now, I had no response to these requests. And so, for us, the question is very simple. We believe that Ethiopia has not the right to expel these 8 members of the UN. We believe Ethiopia is violating international law in doing so. And we are ready to cooperate with the government of Ethiopia in relation to any situation in which the government of Ethiopia feels that any member of the UN is not behaving in total impartiality, in total independence, as humanitarian law prescribes and the humanitarian principles establish. I want to tell you, Mr. Ambassador, we want to cooperate with the government of Ethiopia because we have only one agenda in Ethiopia. And that agenda is the people of Ethiopia. Tigrayans, Amarans, Afaris, Somalis, the people of Ethiopia. The people of Ethiopia is suffering. We have no other interest but to help stop that suffering. Thank you very much.
Ambassador Ethiopia ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ነቶም ሰራሕተኛታት ረድኤት ንኩነታት ኢትዮጵያ ናይ ዳርፉር ከምስልዎ ፈቲኖም ኣብ ሓደ መዓልቲ በሃንደበት 1 ሚልዮን ግዳያት ጥዕናዊ ቅልውላው ፈጢሮም ክብልዩ ነቲ ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ ብፍላይ ድማ ኣብ ትግራይ ዘሎ ኩነታት ኣጋኒኖም ብምባል ዝኸስስ መንግስቲ ኢትዮጵያ እቶም ሰራሕተኛታት ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ጥሜት መሳርሒ ኩናት ይኸውን ኣሎ ህዝቢ እውን ብጥሜት ይመውት ኣሎ ብምባል ሓበሬታ ሰናኒዖም ንህወሓት ይድግፍሉ ብዝብል ምኽንያት ሸውዓተ ላዕሎት ሓለፍቲ ትካላት ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ካብ ኢትዮጵያ ድሕሪ ምስጓጉዩ ባይቶ ጸጥታ ብጠለብ ኣሜሪካን ካልኦት ሃገራትን ነቲ ኣኼባ ጸዊዕዎ አምባሳደር አሜሪካ ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ሊንዳ ቶማስ ግሪንፊልድ ውን ነትና ኢትዮጵያ ስጉምቲ ሓላፍነት ዘይስምዖ አንዳር ስጉምቲ ምዃኑ ብምግላጽ እትና ኢትዮጵያ ስጉምቲ ዝኾነ መምኽኔታ ይብሉን ኢላ
We called for today's urgent meeting because of the Ethiopian government's reckless expulsion of 7 key UN officials, including the head of UNICEF, the head of the UN OCHA, and a senior official from the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. These expulsions are an affront. They are an affront to the Council, they are an affront to the UN, and they are an affront to United Nations member states and our shared humanitarian principles. As I said in the meeting, there is simply no justification for these actions. The UN is impartial and neutral. These groups are conducting important human rights investigations, and they are delivering life-saving aid. UN personnel must be allowed to return immediately to conduct their urgent work, including trying to stop a potentially devastating and unnecessary famine.
ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ዘይሻራውን ነፃ ኣካልን እዩ ብምባል ከዓ እቶም በኢትዮጵያ ተኣጊዶም ዘለዉ ናይ ውድብ ሕብራት ሃገራት ሰራሕተኛታት ረድኤት ብህጹጽ ናብ ስርሖም ክምለሱ ኣለዎም ኢላ ዋና ጸሓፊ ሕብራት ሃገራት ኣንቶንዮ ጉተረስ ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ ብሓፈሻ 7 ሚልዮን ኣብ ትግራይ ጥራይ ድማ 5 ሚልዮን ህዝቢ ሓገዝ ጽበኸም ዘሎ 400,000 ህዝቢ ትግራይ እውን ኣብ ናይ ዓጸቦን ጥሜትን ኩነታት ወዲቑ ከም ዝርከብ ኣተሓሳሲቡ አባይታ ዘለው ሰራሕተኛታት ረድኤት ሕብራት ሃገራት ህዝቢ ኣብ ሓደገኛ ኩነታት ከም ዘሎ ብምሕባር እንተላይ ምስጥሜት ዝተኣሳሰር ሞት ዘርኢ ዘሻቀል ምስክርነታት ይልኩልና ኣለው ክብልውን ነቲቶም ተሰጉጎም ዘለው ሰራሕተኛታት ክብልዎ ዝጸንሑ መልእኽታት ብዝሓየለ ቃላት ደጊምዎ
I welcome this opportunity to brief you concerning the situation in Ethiopia. In August, I warned the Council that a humanitarian catastrophe was unfolding before our eyes in Ethiopia, and since then, the crisis has worsened. Up to 7 million people in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar are now in need of food assistance and other emergency support. This includes more than 5 million people in Tigray, where an estimated 400,000 are living in famine-like conditions. Humanitarian aid is still not reaching the area at anywhere close to the levels needed. The only option for road transportation into Tigray is along the Afar corridor, where movements are being severely restricted by official and unofficial checkpoints, insecurity, and other obstacles and challenges.
ሓንቲ ካብቶም ነቲ ኣኼባ ዝፀውዑ ኣምባሳደር ኣየርላንድ ኣብ ሕብራት ሃገራት እውን እዚ ተኸሲቱ ዘሎ ጥሜት ባህርያዊ ዘይኮነ ሰብ ሰርሖ ሓደጋ እዩ ብምባል ብህጹጽ ደው ክብል ኣተሓሳሲባ
Discussion on Ethiopia, as everyone knows, we called this meeting because, frankly, we think we're staring into an abyss without immediate scaled-up humanitarian action. We're looking really at the prospect of potentially mass mortality on the ground. Overwhelming parts of Ethiopia. We know the situation on the ground is dire. We know well over 5 million people are in need. People are actually, as we're all standing here, they're dying. They're starving. They're hungry. They don't have water. They don't have food. They don't have access to basic fundamental human services. I was shocked today when I saw a figure of 80% of pregnant and lactating women are acutely malnourished. This is just not something that can stand. So we absolutely want to see a full and open discussion today. I'm really glad the Secretary General is joining us. It's the second time he's been with us on this issue. I think it shows what a priority he's giving to this situation. We will say again, as we've said before, this is not a natural disaster. This is caused by political decisions. We want to see full, upscaled, immediate humanitarian access, a cessation to all hostilities, and clearly need for political dialogue.
أبي أحمد نزارمينا وتكبار ዝተحبابرዎ ዘለዉ ከም ኢሳያስ ዝኣመሰሉ መሻርክቱን ህፃናትን ኣዴታትን ብጥሜት ተጠቂዖም ከም ዘለዉ ብስእሊ ተሰንዮም ንዝቀርቡ ዘለዉ ጭብጥታት ብምኽሓድ ዕንደርኦም ምቕጻሎም ነቲ ተዋህሊሉ ዘሎ ናይ ኩናት ገበናቶም መመሊሶም ይውስኹሉ ብምህላዎም ዘረባን ዓቕልን ዓለም ኣብቂዑ ብተግባር ገደብ ክግብረሉ ከም ዝግባእ ዘዘኻኽር እዩ